Hi everyone. Thank you so much for attending the SIGUCCS webinar. I'm very excited to present Lendyll Capitulo to you. He's going to be talking about NYU Steinhardt Information Technology Group's new methodologies for developing student worker skill sets. Just so you're all aware, right now everyone is muted, and we do that so we keep the background noise problems minimized. But you should be able to send me a question and or raise your hand. So do people want to just send in a question, tell me your name, say hi, make me feel good on this Friday afternoon so I know you know how to use the tool? Oh, good. Hello, Elizabeth. Hello, Matt. Thank you so much. We will go ahead and start the presentation, and just so you know, this will be recorded and it should be available on our SIGUCCS website within the next few days. So with that, I'll turn it over to Lendyll, sorry.
Oh, no problem. Hello, everyone. I'm Lendyll Capitulo, and I will be your presenter today. So let's just get started. So the title of my talk is New York University Steinhardt Information Technology Group's New Methodologies for Developing Student Workers Skill Set. So, if you're really intrigued by, what I have to say here, feel free to look up my paper in the ACM library, because this presentation is based on a paper I wrote and presented at SIGUCCS 2015 in St. Petersburg. At first I was going to say St. Augustine, but that was not the right place. St. Augustine is a golf course. All right, so let's jump right in. So I wanted to give everyone a little bit of the structure of the presentation. So I'm going to begin with a little bit of information about me, my team, the school, and the university. Then we will jump into kind of the underlying philosophy of how Steinhardt Technology Services thinks about student technicians. I'm going to introduce the problem that we kind of bumped up against in 2014, and then particularly that we were strapped for resources. We were losing 2 team members, and oh, that is my phone. Let me just turn that down. We lost 2 team members, and we were a little bit, strapped for resources, and how we answered that problem. Our solution was we were going to use the skill sets of our student technicians to fill in the operational gaps. So next slide. So let's start off with a little bit about NYU Steinhardt. So I work for the New York University Steinhardt School of Culture, Education, and Human Development. It's comprised of 11 academic departments, 17 research centers and institutes. In terms of personnel, that looks, it comes down to 290 full-time faculty, a little bit, under 6,000 students, and then finally approximately 275 staff members. So a little bit of the information about our team. Steinhardt Technology Services team is a distributed technology resource that assists the Steinhardt community with their technology needs. We work really closely to our university's central technology organization, NYUIT, but we focus more on the needs of the Steinhardt community. The team overall is comprised of 2 smaller teams. One is the academic technology team, which is comprised of 4 full-time staff members and 3 part-time student workers. And then the team I had, the information technology team, which is 2 full-time staff members and 5 part-time student workers. So we have this division within the team because the academic technology team focuses more on technology and its use in enhancing education. So they focus on technology in the classroom and how technology can further pedagogy, while the information technology team focuses more on the infrastructural and operational role of technology within Steinhardt. So creating that division has given our team advantages of allowing specialties within the team. So, and finally, who I am. Right, I am the manager for information technology at NYU Steinhardt. That means I have several roles at NYU Steinhardt. Firstly, I manage the Steinhardt Technology Services Helpdesk. So the Steinhardt Technology Services Helpdesk is the central point of contact for any and all technology needs at Steinhardt. I train all information technology employees, both full-time and part-time. And then finally, I develop internal business systems for the help desk. So, I might talk about later on in this presentation, I might talk about internal routing that we have and kind of standard operating procedures based around how we handle tickets. I'm the one who comes up with those as well. So next, I'm going to jump into so that we're using the same vocabulary, kind of the concepts you will hear me talk about in the presentation. So one of the first is Zendesk. So Zendesk is our ticket tracking system that manages our client-agent interactions. We use so our team uses Steinhardt or the Zendesk to track all service tickets. So we have so that all our correspondence is tracked with our end users. And then finally, Zendesk, we also use Zendesk to track data that we use to make business decisions. And we'll show how that data comes into play later on. Right? And now we will be talking about our student technicians. And for our team, we have two types of student technicians. So we have core student technicians, and they are student technicians that have had at least 6 months worth of development and training. And we have non-core student technicians. And these are typically new student technicians that we're onboarding and developing. Right? And this distinction will become important later on in our conversation. Another thing you will hear me talk about throughout this presentation are the metrics that we use for measuring the effectiveness of our help desk. So we use two specific metrics. The first metric is time to first response. This is defined as the time it takes for an agent to make the first comment, first interaction with a client on the issue, right? And we view this as a measure of how responsive we are for our end users. And then secondly, we use time to first resolution, which is defined as a time. This is defined as a time for an agent that it takes an agent to solve a ticket. And then we view this as a measure of how quickly and efficiently we can solve an issue. So these two big metrics are what, when management is looking at the help desk overall, this is how these are the two big ones that kind of we keep an eye on. There are other small metrics that we think plays other parts in describing what we do, but ultimately, these are the two big ones that we look to and we think have the greatest tie-in to how we are serving the community. Okay, so now that you know a little bit about the university, the school, the team, and myself, let's talk about kind of the problem, right? So in
Lendyll, I'm sorry. Can I interrupt for just a second? There was
go.
just a quick question from the audience. Do you assess time to final resolution as well?
We do assess time to final resolution. So I'm just going to jump back. We do track time to final resolution as well. I find that it's not as descriptive of a metric, just because a lot of times tickets will get reopened with kind of an issue that the original ticket didn't, that has nothing to do with the original ticket. So we might solve someone's printer issue, and kind of at the end we say, all right, so your printer's been set up, you should be good to go. We did a test print, and then later on they might comment back and say, oh, hey, can you give so-and-so access to this particular share, right? So we tend not to look at final resolution times. We do track it, but I like looking at first resolution times as the main metric for measuring how quickly we can solve an issue.
Thank you. And one quick follow-up. Do you are you tracking call center only, or do you provide other contact paths such as email, chat, etc.?
So basically everything comes into the help desk. It's only a matter of time, right? So I like to say that the help desk is a little bit of a black hole. So regardless of if you email me personally, call my office phone, or find me in the line at Starbucks around the corner and tell me about your problem, you will eventually have a ticket created and tracked in the help desk. So, and that's something that we also track in terms of where a ticket originates. So we have a helpline. So the extension is to help. So anyone on campus at Steinhardt could dial into help and it will call us. And there's a phone tree structure around there, but the person who picks up knows that that there's a certain script that we use. So they take down the information, they put it in Zendesk, and then they tag it. This ticket came in via the to help line.
Thanks, Lendyll.
Awesome. So let's jump into the problem. So as I was saying, in 2014, so middle to late 2014. We kind of hit a little bit of bump in the road at Steinhardt Technology Services. First, we had limited financial resources. There's a budget crunch at Steinhardt that led to a temporary hiring freeze. So, in turn, right, we also happen to lose 2 positions, right? So the first position is one of our team members. Out of the 4 people that we had on staff, 1 person moved over to head the academic technology team. So that means that we didn't have that person as a resource to do IT tickets. Another team member found another position at a different organization, right? And since there was a hiring freeze, we couldn't replace these 2 resources right away. So that presented quite a problem in delivering services to the Steinhardt community. And then kind of the second piece of the puzzle is, the Dean of Steinhardt and the Provost of NYU also wanted to move forward with new academic technology initiatives. So with the enhancement of use of technology both in the classroom, there needs to be more operational and infrastructural support that we need to support those initiatives. So once again, we saw decreasing personnel resources while there should be an uptick in tickets. So with that, that presented a real challenge for how we were going to keep on delivering the same level of service that we've delivered in the past to the Steinhardt community. So, all the big brains got together, all the upper management types. They got together, they got in a room, and they said, we need to solve this problem. How are we going to solve it? So, as most big and complex decisions are made, I was just told later on what we had to do. So my boss came in, and I know he's in the audience, so I hope this doesn't upset him too much. I know that he's in the audience, so I hope it doesn't upset him too much. So he comes in and he says, hey, we should use the student technicians to fill in the operational gaps to, so that we can keep going on. And my response was, well, not so fast, right? So student technicians, while cost-effective, come with a unique set of managerial challenges that need to be overcome if the students are going to fill those operational gaps. So, what are those challenges? I see 3 primary challenges to developing student technicians. First, they have a limited skill set, right? Several key competencies need to be developed before student technicians can be successful in the field, right? The second is organizational buy-in issues. Student technicians don't necessarily have the same ties to an organization that a full-time employee would have. And finally, the last one is sort of related to organizational buy-in, but it's, I think, a specific subset of organizational buy-in issues. It's a work-school balance. Most student technicians balance their student workload with their professional workload. So, there's a limit on how much we can depend on them because they do have other priorities in their life. So, how we chose to kind of tackle these problems. We came up with 3 particular strategies. The first is student-focused development plans. The second are modular trainings. And the final one is doing goal setting. And by implementing these 3 strategies, we hope to, address the problems of, the limited skill set, organizational buy-in, and then the work-school balance, right? So let's talk about the first one, student-focused development plans, right? So the student-focused development plan is a 6-month plan that we use to develop our new student technicians, particularly in the roles of the student roles matrix, which I will show you after this slide. Why we have the student development plan? Well, we want to build the core competencies for our student technicians so they have the tools to succeed in the field. And we do this by, multiple ways, right? We have constant check-ins and then mentoring. So what benchmarks do we want to hit? Well, we have this, so this slide shows something that is in our standard operating procedure, and it's how we view a student worker in terms of what roles the student workers would fill, right? So we see these student workers filling these 4 distinct roles: customer service representative, level 1 support agent, operational agent, which is separate from level 1 support agent in that operational agent there's kind of the behind the scenes work at the office that is done to make sure that we can give good support. So for example, clearing the techno scrap bin, securely erasing old hard drives, that type of thing. And then innovator. Innovator is kind of our catch-all for projects. So later on in a student technician's professional development, they will be in charge of certain projects based on their individual skill set. So while each student worker is expected to fill all of these roles, and they might be fulfilling multiple roles at the same time. So, we don't have one student worker that's just a customer service representative, and we don't, and one that's just a level 1 IT support agent. They perform all of the roles.
Lendyll,
yes.
A quick question for you, or whenever it's appropriate.
Oh, go ahead.
Just curious as to what the average employment life is for your student employees.
So the average employment life, that is actually a metric I don't have. Usually we aim to have them long term. So we're talking, and it's a little bit like I get to play, kind of the Coach K mindset from Duke, where I can say, who I want to target freshmen and sophomores, particularly because, I can give them the skills that we could then use for 2, 3, 4, 5 years if we're lucky and they're unlucky. So, I would say the average length of employment right now is about 1 to 2 years.
That's great. A few more questions for you. How many hours per week do your students work?
So most of them work 20 hours a week.
And is there a different pay scale for your student workers for the levels?
Yes, but it's not by much. So I think everyone starts off at about, one, one pay rate, and then it's, as they become a core student technician, it might be bumped up, $1 or $2 an hour. But that's, it's still, within the same, range.
Great, thank you.
Awesome. So, right, so these are the 4 roles that we're looking to develop the student workers in. And how do we do this? Well, we do this with constant check-ins. So we have, during the first 6 months, we have meetings with the new student technician on day 1, week 2, week 6, 3 months, and 6 months, right? And those are the milestones that we're looking at. So, during these times, I meet with the new student technician as well as one of the core student technicians is with me, and we talk about what the new student worker has been doing kind of in that time period. So we look at growth in being able to adapt to our systems, adapt to both our business and technical systems, how they're fitting into the team, kind of all the stuff that you would talk to a new employee about. And for The other time we check in is we have a bi-weekly student staff meeting. So at this bi-weekly student staff meeting, we talk about operational objectives for the next 2 weeks. We review the data from Zendesk, particularly the metrics time to first response and then time to first resolution. And then the other metric we would probably look at is ticket volume. That way, all our students have an idea of what the big picture of the help desk looks like. And then finally, we have this 3 questions roundtable. And I wish I could take credit for this myself, but I can't. The credit for this goes to the University of El Paso. One of their technology workers was presenting at a New Media Consortium, and he brought this up, and it's something that I've adapted for my team as well. So everyone is asked, what's hot, what's not, what do you need, right? So from a very, from a very young age in their tenure here, the student technicians are trained to give feedback, get feedback, and be able to talk and collaborate with their peers in a way that kind of goes beyond, that goes beyond go here, do this, or go here, do that. So in addition to these constant check-ins and the development plan, they have mentoring. So between check-ins and with full-time staff members, new student technicians also meet regularly with core student technicians. And in the first 2 weeks, the new student technician will be shadowing a core student technician. And these meetings offer a different perspective of working at Steinhardt Technology Services than kind of just chatting with a full-time member, right? So, giving the new student technician the multiple ways of thinking about their particular position is tremendously valuable in their development. And particularly getting the peer instruction is valuable in their development as well.
Lendyll, sorry, can I just clarify, how many student employees do you have again?
So we have 5 student employees.
And then how many full-timers?
So we have 2.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, so the next strategy that we'll talk about are modular trainings. Modular trainings are trainings that can be given by different team members at different times. We have them to allow flexibility. We might have to give a certain training 1 or 2 times. That way, if someone can just jump in and give the training, eventually so for some of the trainings, I have my core student technicians give the trainings just because we can't spare the full-time personnel to give the trainings. And we give these trainings multiple ways, right? So we have technical trainings and documentation, and then cultural trainings and documentation. So I want to show an example of a modular training that we would give. So technical training and documentation is Steinhardt Technology Services. We use technical training documentation to increase the skill set of student workers. And then the technical training could be given by a full-time staff member or a core student technician. And usually for each piece of technical training, there's a piece of documentation that corresponds with it. So for example, this is our ticket priority matrix. This is how we calculate what's low, normal, high, and urgent based on a time deadline and working hours lost. We would usually, so a core student technician would have an agenda. They would talk about how we set priority, and then as a reference point, this would be given to the new technician so that they could look up, how to, as a piece of reference material. The other type of culture training the other type of training, modular training, is culture training and documentation. We use this type of training to instill shared values of the organization within our student technicians. And the culture trainings are a little different because they require the whole team to be present and are led by a full-time staff member. So ultimately we use cultural training and documentation as a way to kind of solve those buy-in and work-life balance issues, because it shows that we as an organization value our student workers, and with that value and extra freedom comes responsibility. So for example, these are kind of the this is something that you would see in the standard operating procedure, which is more of a values document for Steinhardt Technology Services. And it talks about how us as a team, we respect each other, we respect everyone's abilities, we respect everyone's time, and we look for accountability. And bringing in student technicians to have these conversations has been tremendously valuable because it increases buy-in and gives them a voice on the team. So the conversation isn't just one way of management telling the student workers what to do. Everyone is used to being able to have that two-way conversation and give a certain level of feedback. And then the final strategy that we use is goal setting. So we do goal setting formally every semester. We use the clear goal model and event, and I can show you some examples of some of our student goals. Right. So Steinhardt Technology Services uses the CLEAR goal model. CLEAR is an acronym for collaborative, limited, emotional, appreciable, and refinable. And I can't take credit for this. I don't have the reference on me, but if you look at my paper, this was created by some leadership guru, right? So we use CLEAR because of the collaborative and emotional elements. At Steinhardt Technology Services, we want to invest in each other's goals. And this kind of is used to target the buy-in issues and the work-life balance issues. We want our student technicians to invest in each other and realize that this is a team and they are valued because they are less likely to just dump work on others and, they care. And that's ultimately what I think separates our service from other services is that we've empowered our student workers to the point where this isn't just a job for them. It's something that they care about. It's something that they invest in others about, right? So we do this every semester. We all sit down, full-time members included, and then after we are done sharing or writing them, we print them out and we put them on in a special place in the office. So that way everyone can see them and everyone is held accountable. So here are some examples of that. So of our CLEAR goals. These are by various students, right? So you can see that there are a range. They're not just professional. They might be personal. They might be academic. But ultimately, it's important to show them that they have goals and that reaching for goals is important, right? So let's return to answering the question. Does implementing these strategies actually help student technicians fill the operational gaps? Well, let's look at the data, right? So this is the big aha moment that, I get to look sort of smugly at my boss and say I was right. So, here's the data. So we see kind of two upticks in data. We see the September 2014 numbers, which is right here. That's when one of my colleagues moved over to doing academic technology full-time, and when we lost another one of the positions, one of our IT positions to another organization. So if we were following the trends, it would seem that time to first resolution should spike. We cut our resources in half. What are we doing? There's no way that we can keep up. Well, it looks like by really investing in our student workers and allowing them to shoulder the burden, our first resolution times actually decreased down into October. So that's a little bit of a win right there. And kind of moving on beyond that, the next time another time we see a big uptick in first resolution time is May, when we lost two of our core student technicians because they graduated and went on to work for unknown companies like Goldman Sachs and Ernst & Young. So moving on to the next slide, right? And this is where I talk about a couple of trends on the graph, right? The steep uptick in resolution time, but but that ultimately is kind of counteracted by really relying on our student employees. And then finally, May 2015, our core student technicians have graduated and we're training new ones at that time. So in conclusion, right, Steinhardt Technology Services was able to use student workers to fulfill some of the operational gaps left by limited financial resources and new academic technology initiatives. So some of the future challenges that I thought of replacing student technicians, particularly core student technicians, has been slightly more difficult. We currently lost a student technician. He got a better offer at a startup. So, I am definitely feeling this one right now where he definitely has a lot of skills, and I'm really happy that he has moved on to further his career, but replacing him is going to be more difficult. And the second one is hiring new student technicians to fulfill to full-time position is a new frontier, right? So the transition from kind of casual employee to a full-time employee that is one that kind of requires skill for navigation. We haven't crossed that bridge yet, but I imagine it's only a matter of time before we do. So with that, I want to open it up to questions. If you have any other questions that don't get answered within the allotted time period, feel free to contact me at lendyll.capitulo@nyu.edu for any follow-up questions. And I also want to give just a shout out to my student technicians and my supervisor, Ben, for allowing me to try something new. I know I joke very smugly about being right, but Ben has actually been very supportive of how we wanted to, implement these strategies and very respectful of my vision. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Lendyll, thank you. Just one comment, and then we do have a few questions. We are recording this, but if you could also share the slides, that might be helpful. I think people were interested in the grid that you showed earlier, but it was a little small, so I think it might be easier if I can get the slides from you as well. So we'll start with the questions. Do you have performance appreciation program for your student employees?
Yeah, so this is actually something that has been a part of our biweekly student staff meetings. So a little bit of background behind me is I was a RA, so a resident assistant. So a lot of those leadership things comes from my training as that. So what we have every week is a section in our staff meeting where we call them shoutouts, and they're always given and it's kind of done popcorn style. We're all sitting around the table, and it's a time where our students can say, it usually goes in the form of, I just want to give a shout out to, let's say, Ben for being an excellent boss and really helping me with that, right? So it's a way of having not only recognition between management and the student technicians, but also for the student technicians to recognize each other. So a lot of times they'll say, I just want to give a shout out to another student technician because I was having a difficult time with this particular ticket and they helped me out. So, that's one way that we do recognition, and it's something that we definitely see as a priority in our agenda.
Great, thank you. And we had another question. Let's see, and I don't know if you're comfortable with this, but just what is your core and non-core pay? I think this particular participant, due to minimum wage changing, they're currently reviewing kind of what their wages are. So are you comfortable sharing specifics?
To tell you the truth, like I said, I am not comfortable sharing. Okay. I just don't want to put that data out there. What I will say is, I don't know where this student or where the question asker is from, but we don't. So I would say it's anywhere. We definitely pay them under $20 an hour. We pay them a little, a couple dollars more than minimum wage, and then kind of the range is, from between core and non-core, the difference is about $2. So, I don't want to get into any specifics, but, by no means are we paying them kind of what I would say an exorbitant amount of money. But, we pay them, I would say, depending on what state you're in, maybe 10 to 20% above minimum wage if they start out, and then $1 to $2 per hour difference if they are core or non-core. I hope that answers your question adequately.
No, I think so. There was a bit of a follow-up. Are you limited to your pay rate? So I guess, does the institution provide guidance?
So they're definitely institution guidance. I would say that the pay rate is something that we look at the budget and decide what we could pay. I haven't heard any kind of specific reasoning for why we have to pay, being kind of locked in based on a certain status. But this is something that historically we've done.
Are all students computer majors, or do you hire from a variety of backgrounds?
Actually, we hire from a variety of backgrounds. So I'm trying to think. So right now on the team, we have someone who's majoring in financial engineering, we have two that are majoring in, so we have two are still kind of gen ed, and then one is doing computer science. But in the past, we've had graphic designers, we had actors, we've had film students. We don't limit it to what they're studying. I will say the bigger limitation is more of a kind of attitude and fit limitation. We look for people who definitely fit our culture, who are ready and willing to kind of go above and beyond, and more importantly, can take direction and learn well. Great,
thank you. Are there users who are unhappy about interacting with your students?
So to be honest, I want to say not really. I know that seems to be a little bit of a stretch. I will say there are a couple of users that who I think would fall into the category of no matter who was fixing their computers, they would be unhappy. But specifically because we have students, I would say no. And the only reason I have such confidence in saying that is I was at a department administrators meeting with our 11 department administrators, and I spoke about kind of this topic and how our help desk runs and how we're a student organization. And 2 or 3 of them said, "Oh, I didn't know so-and-so was a student. They're so professional. I love working with them. They're so laid back." So I wouldn't say that, there might be a few, end users out there that might feel that way about students, but unfortunately, fortunately for us, a majority of the population, doesn't mind or actually really likes working with our students.
Great. Do you use WorkStudy Students? I have about 5 more questions so far, so we're just going to keep them rolling.
No, keep on rolling. So I was a former debater. I was a debater in high school, so I tend to do better with the questions than actually delivering the content of the presentation. So get them in. So yeah, we use WorkStudy money when we can, and that's definitely an advantage for our budget because WorkStudy pays a certain amount opposed to us covering the whole bill. But we also have student workers that don't have any WorkStudy funds. So we try to take advantage of it when we can, but when we can't, we don't want it to limit us or the talent that we could bring in.
Great, thank you. Is there a way that that the participants could see your training modules, and/or are they available online or PDF?
I would say the best way, if the participants want to see training modules, they should email me directly. So I know that I shared some of the training modules on the slides, but some of the training modules we do consider a little bit to be IP and kind of proprietary knowledge. So opposed to kind of giving like a wholesale letting those out, I'd prefer if they would reach out to me directly, and then we could watermark them and do what we have to do.
Thank you. So Lendyll, we were trying to figure out, so it sounds like all of your full-timers help do the mentoring and the coaching?
So right now the mentoring and the coaching kind of falls to me. We have So I was recently promoted to IT manager. Before that, I was just a specialist. So we still have that vacant slot that we're looking to fill. But when that other person comes in, they will be partly charged with kind of contributing to the conversation. So being able to, give critiques, give feedback, assess student workers for growth. It's something that we look out for on all levels of our organization.
And then it sounds like logistically, you're somehow able to cover the phones while your students are pulled away for these one-on-one meetings or for the biweekly meetings?
Yes. So during the biweekly meetings, I have a joke with some of our department administrators where I'll tell them, if someone really wants to get to me, they'll get to me. It doesn't matter if I'm at my desk in a meeting or kind of in the line at Starbucks. They will know where I am. They will find me, and they will make me fix their computer. So, yes, we do have coverage. Sometimes in these meetings, we'll have the ticket queue open just to see if any emergencies come in. But, my phone gets forwarded to my cell phone, so it's the community is still able to get a hold of us even when they're in these meetings.
Oh, okay, great. Let's see. What is your focus on customer service satisfaction?
So that's an interesting question. I have a colleague who works at the NYU IT Helpdesk, and so that's the central help desk for NYU. And I remember we were in a leadership program together, and he said with customer satisfaction, it's hard because the numbers end up looking the same every month. Somewhere between 98 and 99% of people are happy with what you do, and there's just that 1% that just, regardless of what you do, kind of just hates you. So with that taken in stride, we, through Zendesk, have implemented a customer satisfaction survey. And lo and behold, that's kind of what our numbers look like, right? So 98, 99% of people really like the job we do, and about 1%, they will be unhappy because they are just the 1% that's unhappy. And that's why I come back to saying the real metrics that really stick with me are the time to first response and the time to first resolution, because at least that's a measurement of how responsive we are to the community and how quickly we're resolving those issues. So ultimately, I think those two metrics are more descriptive of customer satisfaction than kind of the customer satisfaction survey that we send out at the end of each ticket. Hello?
Hello, sorry. What is your survey response rate?
I can actually look that up right now. Give me 1 second. I think it's up near the, I think
and
it's
just so you know, we can see your screen, so.
I know.
Okay.
So it is up next to, not to brag, we're up to 99%. Let's see. It is knowledge-based satisfaction, 53%. So, and here's the data right here. Out of the 533 surveys sent, we had 3 bad ratings and 282 good ratings. So, those numbers line up to what they see centrally and kind of what we projected in the beginning.
All right, I'm going to make a quick comment here. I think I scheduled the webinar for 45 minutes. We have a few more questions, so I'm going to try to keep rolling. But participants, if something unfortunate happens, it will be recorded. But let me just keep rolling through here. The type of investment may seem over the top to some managers. Do you have any strategies for convincing upper leadership about how important this is?
So this was a question that was actually asked at the in the in-person conference, and it's kind of it's a really, not to say it's a hard sell, but it's something that you won't realize the value of until you show your manager the numbers, right? So you can as a plug for the paper, I could say you should cite my paper when you talk to your manager and show them how successful this type of implementation is. But it really comes down to, really investing and saying, hey, this is our philosophy, this is what I think is going to work, and this is how we want to move forward with it. And it takes that type of, almost professional courage to do. But yeah, no, it's a lot of investment, but the payoff is worth it. You just have to put the time in. So it's either, you put the time in the beginning and you train everyone, or you put the time in at the end when you're trying to clean up everyone's mistakes. So,
Great, thank you.
That's the way that I'd make the sell.
Do you do student worker evaluations?
Yeah. So some of the student worker evaluations is somewhat of an informal process. It has they do self-evaluations. They have a self-evaluations worksheet, and then we meet with them to discuss what they think their semester looked like. So we do them on a semester basis. So we have that kind of big evaluation piece where we talk about, where they're going, things that they think they're proud of, things that they thought they did really well, things when they, times where they had to collaborate with their, other student workers. And then there's a piece that asks what management could have done better to make it a smoother semester. And we kind of talk that out at the end of every semester. But informally, there's more of a discussion that happens between myself and the core student technicians about technicians' roles within the team. So our core student technicians do a really good job of keeping me in the loop and saying, like, I don't think, technician X is really being challenged. Can we give them a project that could take advantage of their skills? And those types of conversations I find to be very insightful because once again, we have an instance where a peer evaluation is going to be very different than kind of a managerial evaluation.
What are your days and hours of service?
Oh, so we are in the office at 9 to 5, every week. Yeah, so.
And what is scheduling like for you? Do students work nights and weekends? Or just 9 to 5, it sounds like.
They only work 9 to 5, so the office is only open 9 to 5.
It sounds like, so this is just, I think, a comment. It sounds like your department pays for non-work study students. I know it seems like some schools may not have that option. They have to use only work study students. So I suppose if folks want to chat in, I can kind of summarize that at the end. Okay, just to clarify, the schedule is only Monday through Friday for your service desk.
So, and also to get back to, work study versus non-work study, I wouldn't necessarily say there's a big difference. I think some people might make the argument to say, if you hire non-work study, you can get someone with a greater skill set or that has more experience. But what I think kind of the basis of the student development plan is it doesn't matter what skill set you walk into. We want to give you the skill set you need to succeed at this job. So that's kind of a challenge that we've taken on. And a lot of times, and like I said earlier, when we do recruiting for work studies, we tend to not look for skill set. We tend to look more towards attitude and cultural fit. So I hope that helps. If not, good luck.
No, right. I think just for clarification, non-work study, is a non-work study a current student?
I'm sorry?
Well, I think the question is, so even if they're non-work study, they're still students. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So going back a little bit to the goals, do you think that personal goals are better for the students or work goals? Granted, school comes first. We want the students to gain work experience at the same time. The participant has set work goals but is open to new ideas and just curious as to what your feedback might be.
So ultimately it comes down to the E part of CLEAR, the emotional goals, right? Like I want the students to be emotionally invested in the goals that they put up, right? So if I say, hey, just put up work goals, some students might not, really identify with that, and by extension the goals will kind of be mediocre, right? So it might be a goal that they could very easily do. Let's say solve 5 tickets a week. On average, our students solve about 15 to 20 tickets a week, right? So by my view is if I restricted it like that, I wouldn't get the outcomes that I was looking for. So if by opening it up, I could really get them to invest in each other. And when they invest in each other, they by extension invest in the team and the organization.
And then you just alluded to this a little bit, but what's your monthly ticket workload for the entire team, and then what percentage of that is handled by your students?
Ooh, that is so I'm trying to think of the numbers that so let's say, we could do this really easily. Hold on. Let me just pull the report.
Thank you.
So ticket volume, anywhere from, let's say, 630, which was September of this year. So we average anywhere from 250 tickets a semester to 600 tickets a semester. And if we want to look at the breakdown, so if this is me, this is the other full-time. So we have students in here. So I would say, they handle about 40%. Lucas is a student, so probably a little bit more than that. Let's say 50% of the workload.
Great, thank you. And I think, let's see, we still want, so your help desk is open 9 to 5, but is there an IT help desk that's open different hours?
Yeah, so NYU has a global, they have a global help desk, which goes between, which is the help desk for NYU on Washington Square, and then as well as NYU's Study Away and Portal campuses, so Abu Dhabi and Shanghai. Excuse me, and that's all run through. It's all run through one help desk, and that is, and they are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Great, thank you. I think one of our participants is looking for the contact for the IT help desk person. So I suppose could she contact you directly to get that information?
Yes.
And on a similar vein, there's some interest in your satisfaction survey questions. Again, if she contacts you, you can provide that? Or?
What? Just one second.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Someone just walked in the office.
No problem. People were just wondering about your satisfaction survey questions, if they could contact you and get a copy of those.
Oh, yeah. I can give them to you right now. So it's literally a link that says, are you happy with the service that you were provided? If so, click here. If not, click here. And either way, you get, there's like a comment box. So it's not, a comprehensive survey, but it's more of a, just yes or no question with some sort of qualitative part.
Great, thank you. We're almost done here. So I think the stats you quoted were for the semester, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. And then one of our colleagues is sharing that for them, their work-study students tend to run out of money, but the investment they've made in their training allows, I guess, their organization to keep paying them. So if anyone's afraid of work-study money running out, there may be another option within your institution. But I must say, we have gone over time, so I need to close this down. I'm glad there's so much excitement and enthusiasm on a Friday afternoon. Lendyll, thank you so much. I think, clearly with the participation, many people are interested in student management, and I'm sure you've given me good ideas for my full-timers, so I can only assume you've given others good ideas for their student staff. But we really do appreciate your time, and thank your boss again for letting you participate and do this with us. And I hope everyone has a great weekend and you don't get any snow or ice.
And if you have any other questions, feel free to email me.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Bye.